Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
Use content to generate hundreds of qualified leads like clockwork. Now, my Internet Explorer friend, if you've been tuned into the Online Prosperity Experience, you'd realize that this is episode number 5, where we've been talking about how to, restart, recharge, and revive your marketing. And if you will check back, you will notice that starting from episode number 2, we started looking at if you're actually tracking your goals so that you actually achieve your goals this year. And then the episode that came after that, I started noticing that a lot of people had not been achieving their goals, and it was simply predicated on them not having clarified their message. And then I'm starting to get a lot of feedback from people, which is when the episode after that, which is episode number 4, we talked about your website and how it's costing you a lot of money. And today, I then figured, why talk about a website in previous episodes without actually talking about the content that goes onto the website? So just tying everything together, this is a series of episodes that will definitely get you to actually restart, recharge, and revive your marketing right now. And I actually introduced this aggressive initiative to help any business owner that is struggling to stay on plan with their marketing throughout the whole year. And the idea is to just take it from the midpoint of the year to actually start afresh, so you can have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So today we tackle step number 3, which basically is all about how to use content to generate a steady flow of leads, so that you have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. And you know what? If you have a steady flow of leads, you would understand that you will never have to cold call people again, or maybe email people just to beg them to hire your services. And you know what that means? It means you seriously can, start creating diverse recurring revenue streams just from the products that you have, simply because you are no longer creating, you are now creating customers for your products instead of the other way around, where you're looking for customers for your product. Okay, so I've got good news and bad news, and I really want you, to take note of what we're about to talk about. So, I advise from now on, lock yourself in a room or put on those, voice cancellation headphones. Make yourself a cup of coffee or a kombucha or a whiskey, depending on what day it is, all right? Because I really want you to start creating outstanding results, not only for yourself, but also for your clients. And once you do that, you definitely win their loyalty for life. And once people are loyal to you, they will definitely be singing praises to their family, their friends, their colleagues at barbecues, or even if they meet a stranger on public transport, they will be more than happy to talk to them about the amount of work that you're doing for them. All right. So if you're tired of maybe, not creating real good content, or you're tired of maybe calling people and not getting any response, or people are hanging up in your face, or if you're tired of sending out hundreds of emails without getting as much as, hey, thank you so much for reaching out, and if you're also tired of wasting thousands of dollars on ad spend without generating any qualified leads, this is the podcast that you want to listen to. Okay. And I also would like to maybe just seriously justify your failures right now because it's not your fault. You've probably been hearing a lot, especially in the last era, where Gary Vee stepped up on the scene and started talking about documenting content, and it was all content, and we didn't even know when to stop. And if you're tired of hearing that you must produce, content in order for you to compete in the world of marketing today, I've got good news for you. All right, so stay logged in because I'm really, packing a lot of heat, and I want you to actually create a business that's profitable and enjoyable and create content that relates and resonates to the people you're going to be demanding money off of. So I promised you some good news, but there's no good news with that, the bad news. So let's start with the bad news first, okay? Please stop creating content for content's sake. All right, there's so much that's going on the social media or on the internet right now. So much that people are bombarded with just spun out content out there, and I don't want you to be one of those people that is just creating content for content's sake. All right, and in any case, we all know that it's important for us to be creating some sort of value for the audience that we're going to be demanding money off of, because we get paid in direct proportion to the value that we bring to the marketplace. But if you're just doing content for content's sake, then I advise that you stop and really take note of today's episode, all right? Because content obviously is continuing to be growing in importance, because the internet itself is predicated on its survival is based on the communities that we are part of, the content that we create that that engages that community. And if you're not creating any sort of content that people will want to consume in order for them to start on their journey and get to know, like, and trust you, my friend, will maybe feel like no one wants to buy what you're selling. And when you actually rely on your business to pay rent and put food on your table, man, it could put an enormous strain on your emotions. And you're probably terrified to give up on your dreams simply because you can't bring in any new clients. Okay, so like I mentioned, as content continues to grow in importance within the marketing mix, it actually must take on an elevated place in your strategy and planning. You definitely have to start respecting the content that you're putting out there. So you want to use high quality education-based content, because people are definitely coming to the internet to learn something, and if you're providing that information, then they get to know you, like you, and trust you. So education-based content has actually become an essential ingredient to maybe creating awareness, building trust, and actually converting leads on your website and serving customers. And also, when you ask for referrals from people, if you haven't got any content that they can maybe pass on to their friends, their relatives, or anybody at a barbecue, it will be difficult for people to refer work to you. So if you don't arm your referral army with content, then how do you expect them to speak highly of what it is that you're doing? Okay, so I've said this many times over the last episodes and over the last few years. If you have actually been an avid supporter of our work, and if you haven't, welcome. And I encourage you to actually subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any of this exclusive content that is designed to help you create a business that's profitable and enjoyable. Okay, so like I said, I've been saying this throughout all the other past episodes, but a lot of marketers and small to medium businesses, or even some coaches, they have a lot in common with publishers at this current moment, all right? We are actually feeding the content machine that happens to be the internet, and now content is synonymous to the air that we actually breathe. Okay, so if you're not producing any valuable content that actually engages, educates your audience, and lets them start on a journey which eventually makes it easy for them to communicate with you, you, my friend, are leaving a lot of money on the table because, like I said, people are coming to the internet to get information. All right. Now, for the good news, let me tell you something. You don't need as much content as you think. All right. I think it was Gary Vee that was saying he produces over 100 pieces of content every single day because he's got a team and he knows how to syndicate all of that stuff. You don't necessarily need to be having, your own person following you behind with a camera just so that you can document every step of your day. Okay, obviously that had its own time, but I don't think a lot of people have a lot of time, to constantly be following, engaging, reading all of that stuff. And half of the stuff is all narcissistic anyway. It's all about you. What are you putting out there that helps your prospects solve the problems that they're actually facing right now? Because that's what they care about. They don't care about what it is that you do. They care about how that will help them solve the problems that are keeping them up at night. So if you would understand the days of just pumping out maybe thin blog posts day after day are over. Content for content's sake is no longer permissible or something that actually makes you stand apart. In actual effect, with the latest Google algorithm change, they actually punish you if you're just spraying and praying with your marketing, if you haven't identified your target audience, and if people are not actually engaging with your content, Google's robots will not even put it out there. So you're just not only wasting your time, but you're just wasting everybody else's time that you think you're reaching out to. Okay, so for us to actually restart, refresh, and realign ourselves with this marketing, here's what I need you to do. I actually need you to consider just 6 blogs, okay? Just 6 blogs for the rest of this year. All right, you've got 6 months left. And I'm speaking this in the month of June. Whoa, we've only just gone up to July, and I want to keep this podcast evergreen. So depending on where you are and what time of the year you're listening to this podcast, just create enough posts to last you 1 month, 1 post a month, up until the end of the year. All right. The reason why I'm saying this is because once you've done this, you will now put time, effort, sweat, blood, and tears into each post so that it's long, it's got all the components, and it becomes a long form piece of content. All right. So if you are accustomed to putting out a post each and every week, why don't you try and write enough or a segment of a blog post each week up until you've got maybe a 2,000 word blog post that has got all the details that your customer might need in order to solve a problem. Even though people are not going to read all of it, but what I'm going to tell you, how to then, repurpose that piece of content is going to pretty much amaze you, so that you don't necessarily have to be churning out 300 word blog posts out there, but you now go in with what we call pillar content, which basically holds your website together. Deal? All right, let's get started. All right. So below, as we go along, I'm just going to be giving you the complete system of actually turning this content now into hundreds of qualified leads, because it's not just going to work in and of itself. I'm going to be showing you how to actually repurpose this content. And if you're too eager to know what it is we're going to be talking about, you can turn that blog post into a podcast, and then turn that podcast into a video, and then you can start putting out social media posts that direct people to that blog post. You can turn that blog post into an ebook. There's so many things that you can do with that piece of content. And once you have now started that sort of journey, you can now, create lead generation mechanisms within that blog post that will then allow your clients to actually submit their email, get that information, and start the journey with you. All right. So here's a system that I want you to start looking into. All right. So just list out let's start off with 6, okay? Because in my mind, I'm just thinking there's 6 months left to the year. 6 of your most useful content ideas for your ideal customer. So if you've been listening to the previous episodes, we've been talking about you really identifying your target audience and really outlining what problems do you actually solve. Because remember, your customers don't care about the solutions. They care about how well and efficient you can solve the problems that is keeping them up at night. All right. And then step number 2, you want to build a lead generation content upgrade for each piece. So like I mentioned, each blog post can be turned into a checklist. Each blog post can be turned into an ebook, something they can exchange their email address for, so they get the value in the content upgrade. Okay, so I'll be explaining to you how it all works, so that you literally have pieces of content that become investments instead of things that you're just posting out there and contributing to the noise. And pretty much once you've got that set up, you've got the 6 content pieces, you've created a content upgrade for each piece, start promoting each piece. All right, so now you've got 6 different campaigns that you can put out in your advertising, in your social media, and things of that nature. And I think maybe I should cover that in a next episode. So stay locked into the Online Prosperity Experience, so where we will continuously give you ideas on how you can actually make sense of the internet world, you my internet explorer. And that's it. If you execute this idea over the next 6 months or whatever month time is left throughout the year, you definitely start generating leads. Okay, so let's just really go in depth to these steps. Like the first step that I mentioned, which is to create a list of these 6 of the most useful content ideas that your ideal customer might find useful. Okay, because once you know what your customer is going through, okay, you literally can create, you can plan, you can curate, you can collaborate with people that have access to these customers already, and then repurpose and get far more use out of every piece of content that you produce. Because most of the time we're creating disposable blogs which only work for the time when they're created, instead of actually creating evergreen pieces of content that our customers can come back to over and over and over and over again. And if you can create content upgrades from that, you, my friend, will actually get far more out of every piece of content that you produce. Okay, because once you've got this system in place, okay, it definitely will build momentum with each passing month. You know why? Because people will start referring to that blog post. People will actually pin it. And the more people are frequenting that piece of content, Google will actually, deem it valuable, and it will increase your ranking. All right. So this is an approach we're going to take to develop your key content. All right. And if you know exactly what it is that your customers are searching for, if you know exactly what it is, customers type into Google, that is where you want to start off from, okay? So you can initiate that journey that your customers want to have on the way to fixing, whatever problems they might be facing, okay? And once you've created that blog post, I encourage you to aim for more than 2,000 words, okay? Just make it as long as possible and very interactive, as if you're creating an ebook, okay? So just go all out, because you've got a whole month to create this piece of content. So really figure out the outline, really figure out, the 2 or 3 points, and really make sure that it's packed with value, okay? And now the second step that I mentioned is for you to create some sort of upgrade from that piece of content. And what do I mean by that, okay? Because once you get somebody to your website and maybe your landing pages or something like that, it is imperative that you entice them to exchange their email address or any other contact information so that they get something that they're looking for in terms of solving their problems. Not everybody is going to thump through your website up until they find what they want. They might leave their email address so that they can be contacted and just talk to somebody, and it's easier that way. Or if you have already created small pieces of content like checklists or things that they can self-help themselves before they speak to somebody, those are the things that people will be exchanging their email address for. So you got to make it very valuable. So what you can then do is turn that blog into a PDF that can be downloaded from the website, okay? And it's pretty standard everywhere you go. Wherever you go on a website where people are actively generating leads, you will notice that they encourage you to leave your email address, and in that email address, you will then start receiving marketing communication from them. And it's called, a lead magnet or a bribe, just so that you start your potential customers' journey, okay? So the idea of maybe bait or a lead capture has actually certainly evolved, okay? People no longer just trust leaving their email address willy-nilly, so you need to make sure that you actually sell that opportunity for them to get that content upgrade that you have, okay? So because back in the time, there was a time that when you needed to generate leads, all you needed was a capture form and a message that actually asked people to sign up, so you can capture their email. But then people got very tired, of all the emails that they were being bombarded with. So a lot of smart marketers or coaches and consultants have realized that they needed to offer something valuable, like a ebook or maybe a registration to a webinar or a free trial, something that literally would work in and of itself, even if the prospect does not inquire with you. All right. So even so, our visitors now are making it harder to convert because they no longer want all those unwanted or unsolicited emails that come their way. All right. So today, who knows how long really where it's all gonna go, but as of now, it's imperative that if you want to generate leads, you want to give people something that's useful, something that's actionable, something that's educational, and you really want to then just shoot two birds with one stone. You've already written that blog post, why not turn it into something actionable or like a checklist that then converts that prospect into a lead, and then hopefully with time throughout your funnels you can then convert them into a customer that pays, stays, and refer. So maybe you might be confused right now, but the basic idea behind a content upgrade is this: write a really great, useful blog post, and then when people show up to read it, offer them an upgrade to the content, maybe in the form of a checklist or a video or maybe a case study that is relevant to the topic in exchange for their contact details, because you will be able to reach out to a lot more people and in different times and in different locations if you've got access to their email address. Whereas if people just show up to your website, yep, they can get the value and everything else, but you won't be able to actually, communicate with them so much more that you nurture them into customers that pay, stay, and refer, okay? Because once you've created all of this content, you no longer have to be creating so much of it. All you just need to do is focus on creating posts that are full of great information that they can't be ignored. All right, make it so good that somebody won't want to leave without having picked it up. And once you've got all of that, the traffic that comes to your website will definitely want to, get that information from you, especially if it is free, okay? And it will actually increase the conversions on your website, simply predicated on a piece of content that you would have just done once. And remember, like I said, people are coming to the internet to get information. And if you're the person that's providing that information, guess what? They get to know you, like you, and trust you. And people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. All right, so we are already doing this within our website. If you jump onto our blog, you will notice that after every 2 or 3 paragraphs, we're giving somebody an opportunity to subscribe or download a content upgrade predicated on the piece of content that they're reading at that particular item. And also, if you notice, even in our podcast, if you're watching this on Spotify or on Apple, if you click on any of the bold letters within the description, that is a link to a content upgrade. And when you then jump into our space, you will start noticing that that's how we generate leads. We give out this free piece of content which comes in the form of a podcast, but the content upgrade, people have to exchange that with their email address, and then from there we start following up with the emails, just depending on how they want to be spoken to. And you know what that creates? That creates precisely segmented visitors. Because if you've written a blog post, I'm just going to give an example, because we're a digital agency. We do social media, we do SEO, we do digital marketing, all of that stuff. So if we've written a podcast around digital marketing, well, right, so we know that the people that would have requested a content upgrade want information about digital marketing. If we wrote a podcast, a blog post about social media, and somebody requests a content upgrade based on social media, they will start receiving marketing that relates to social media. That way, people will not unsubscribe. You know why? Because you're creating for and relating to based on what it is that they requested from you. So as coaches, consultants, and small to medium businesses, you might be doing a lot of products within your business, consulting, training, information, expertise, and maybe paid speaking gigs. In order for you to not confuse your prospects before they quite get to know you, what do? You can segment them based on the content that they are responding to the most, and you can actually then convert them into customers that pay, stay, and refer. And then pretty much after that, you can then introduce them to some of your product offerings without bombarding them right from the get-go, okay? So that content upgrade, it actually helps you to help people to self-select how they want to be, helped. And very few people are interested in maybe a generic overview of your services. So make sure the ebook or the upgrade that you create is not going to be just vanilla in terms of the value that you're putting out there. You know what I mean? Just safe or too general. You want to be very specific, because if somebody has taken the time to read all that information, guess what? They are already putting up their hands to say, this is the type of stuff that I'm interested in. All right. So once you have that going, hey, all you got to do is just make sure that the content upgrade is valuable enough. All right. And I don't want you to overthink, what you need to create for content upgrade. I've been alluding to checklists. I've been alluding to videos. I've been alluding to ebooks, especially things like that. Just something simple but actionable. Because one of the easiest content upgrades that you can create is a checklist that is based on the information that you have given. So just how they can implement the information that you're given. And people like checklists because they're easy to follow and easy to to create. So jump onto this and actually start creating content upgrades so that people don't have to worry about how to then implement what it is that you have given to them. So there you have it. All right. I mean, if you're ready to start generating solid leads for your business, so you don't have to rely on cold calling or maybe cold emailing just to beg clients to hire you, I've given you a 3-step plan for you to actually create content that generates hundreds of qualified leads like clockwork. Okay, so let me just give you the system once again. You want to create 6 at least of the most important content ideas for your ideal customer, and then give yourself a month to actually flesh out the content. And then the second step is you want to build a lead generating content upgrade for each piece, so that when people have finished reading, they can grab from you either an ebook of that blog post, or they can get a checklist so that they can implement the information that you have disseminated. And then pretty much after that, you start promoting each piece in your advertising and in social media. And I'll definitely cover that in episode number 6, so that you can have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. All right. So, like I said, the remaining step, once you've created the content, once you have created the content upgrade, is to start promoting each piece, using advertising and social media. And that's what's up next. So you need to subscribe to the Online Prosperity experience, so you can get value like this, which basically helps you to stand head and shoulders above all the other consultants and coaches out there. Okay, if you need more tips on how to grow your business, just check us out at www.livelongdigital.com.au, or just simply subscribe to this podcast, and definitely we'll give you a guide to marketing your business so that it becomes profitable and enjoyable. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So, look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au